Welcome back to Coffee Over Apples. My name is Steph.
My name's Larry. I'm on every no-fly list, including the LPC.
We had the distinct pleasure of reading an arc of Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle.
Man, the myth, the legend.
Love is real. Out everywhere on August 12th, and we're also very excited to go to an author talk and signing for Lucky Day on August 13th in Brooklyn. Super hyped. If you like more content like this, don't forget to become a channel member at any level to get access to all of my book clubs, get access to additional content, and check out the links below for all of my discords. We're going to do a deep dive, so if you haven't read the book yet and you're worried about spoilers, I will put a little bit of a spoiler warning on the screen once we get into spoilers, but we're going to go ham.
It's actually going to be a jump scare, so be careful. Spoilers now. It's going to be like a scream or something.
Yeah, I can do something like that.
That would be really funny. Yeah.
The ending was beautiful. I actually cried at this ending. I ended up giving this book 5 stars, by the way.
It's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around the abstract stuff because, like, I get it. It's not like I didn't get it. It just more feels like you have to be very careful with how you kind of approach these kinds of topics. One, because it's sensitive. And two, I think there's something about how you or any other person addresses the abstract could be a little bit different. So it can kind of be lost on a reader. I think that this is definitely one of those ones where, like, I can imagine someone seeing this ending as a hit or a miss. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't think I liked it as much as you did, but I did enjoy it. I think that it was very poignant in how it kind of approached this idea.
Okay, so let's talk about the premise of Lucky Day really quickly. If you haven't read Chuck Tingle's horror books before, they are adult horror. Each of his books usually has to do something with the LGBTQ plus community. In this case, our main character, Vera, is bisexual and has a girlfriend.
It's interesting because this book definitely has topics of, like, bisexuality erasure, which is a big problem right now still. It's not as prevalent as, like, in his other books, like Bury Your Gaze.
Yeah, if you've read Bury Your Gaze before.
Well, it's kind of up in front and center. It's the main theme. In this one, it's not like it's not important, but, like, I was kind of surprised that, like, it gets acknowledged in the beginning. It's there in shades. The idea of, I think there's some kind of parallel maybe that Chuck Tingle is doing as far as, like, the idea of, like, what is real and what isn't real. That's the whole thing. Love is real. Gore galore.
I would say that this is a very graphic book. I was also very taken aback by, like, how just absurdist this is. This is very much an absurdist horror. And if absurdism isn't your vibe, just know that it is different from his other horror in that way where it's playing on the ridiculousness that is horrific events and the probability of improbable things happening. So it's like, if the improbable is suddenly probable, can that energy be harnessed from a scientific perspective? So I would definitely say Lucky Day is a sci-fi horror, and that is not a spoiler in any way, because from the very beginning, Vera is talking about statistics. And I personally think that Vera is OCD coded in the beginning.
Oh, sure.
But that is ultimately dealing with, like, PTSD and things like that. So trigger warning for mental health.
A big thing is that it kind of deals with, like, existentialism and this idea of, like, what does it mean to have meaning in your life? That's kind of the bread and butter of this story. I was about, I think, not even halfway. I wasn't even the halfway point. I think they just introduced Agent Layne, and we were in the car, and I said, I'm going to guess how this book ends. And I pretty much, I hit it on the money.
Yeah.
Which isn't the point. I think that's another thing. Unlike, let's say, like Bury Your Gaze, where kind of part of it is learning the twists and, like, what's the method behind the monstrosity. This one's not really that crazy. It's not like a twist that's going to throw you for a loop.
Yeah, I would say if you're going into this looking for a crazy twist, that's definitely not the way to go into this. I mean, definitely weird things happen and unexpected things happen, and that's kind of like the fun part. But it's really more about the journey that these characters go on and their character arc rather than the twist. Because I think we both predicted the ending in some way. And Usually that's a turnoff for things, but in this case, it's totally cool because this book tackled some really big themes in a short amount of pages.
There are a lot of spectacles, but the spectacle I don't think is the point. I think that like it really is about the character arc. It is about the character's journey more than it is about anything else. That's just my take. I think it was beautiful all the same. I think that I was not disappointed that I was right. I'm like, okay, that checks out. Yeah. I couldn't imagine what else it could be. I think this one definitely kind of differs in the sense that it is just the Vera show. And that's great. I think that it gives a different perspective than his other books, where in this one, we get a lot of time and a lot of space, like you said, to work with this character. And I think that it's like one interesting kind of topic and concept in there is this idea that like, what happens when you have trauma and you aren't able to have closure?
Mm-hmm. Putting on a spoiler warning.
Vera's mother doesn't acknowledge that bisexuality is a real thing. She doesn't acknowledge that Vera's relationship is even real. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's some kind of parallel there with the idea of like, is chance real? Is fate real? Is probability real? Vera, from her perspective, experiences what in the book is later described as the low probability events. This thing that happens all over the world. It becomes anything that is statistically improbable becomes probable and likely. And she experiences essentially this conga line of horrific, ridiculous, over-the-top events. Like she sees one of her friends get beaten to death by a chimpanzee carrying a typewriter, which is a play on the concept of, in statistics, of if you have an infinite number of monkeys and an infinite number of typewriters, eventually, just by sheer chance, they will eventually write the great American novel. I remember when I read that scene and I'm like, fucking it, what are you doing, man? Like, what?
He's having a blast is what he's doing.
Oh no, Chuck Tingle he's fucking chewing the scenery with every moment.
Yeah.
And like, that is kind of this big focal point at the beginning of the story about this low probability event. It's just,
aside from, bi erasure and just graphic content.
It's kind of weird because this book definitely, you said it's kind of deals with the abstract. It deals with the improbable. It's interesting because it doesn't feel like a kind of point A to point B narrative in the way that like Bury Your Gaze was, and much more of a internal struggle, an internal narrative. The events that are happening to Vera and the characters is important, but it's not as relevant, I think, or as important and poignant at the end as what's happening to Vera and how she's kind of finding a sense of purpose after essentially being told that everything that she believes in and everything that holds her internal infrastructure is meaningless.
I loved Vera as a character. I loved her character arc, and there are other characters along the way. There's another character that is a juxtaposition to Vera, where they are this very much happy-go-lucky person, and it's just kind of like the way that everybody processes these absurd events is completely different, but also completely valid.
It's two kind of different perspectives on how do you deal with the idea of meaninglessness. Mm-hmm. When you have nothing to hold on to, do you go in the end of nothing matters, I don't give a fuck? Or do you say, nothing matters, I'm going to do everything. Mm-hmm. I'm going to, like, literally, they even say in like the books, like carpe DMing everything you can. No, it was absolutely insane. I think we kind of get to an interesting point where you kind of see the trajectory of the story kind of by the midpoints, because you kind of start being introduced to these horrific concepts, these like holes in space and time. And you kind of are wondering, like, where is this going to go and what is this going to do? And it's so bizarre how, like, it very much feels almost like an Evangelion moment, kind of, where, like, Vera goes into this hole and she essentially has this conversation with, like, the essence of chaos.
Yes.
And chaos is basically saying, let me have the world. You don't care. Nothing matters. Let things go as they're supposed to. Let everything fall apart.
And I thought that that was so beautiful, because it's like, what is the most improbable possibility of understanding, or the human mind to be able to have the capacity to understand what is chaos and nothingness and just emptiness. And that ultimately ends up being this kind of just, again, a personification in some way of something that is rooting for entropy. It was very much, like you said, Evangelion coded. It was very much Human Instrumentality Project. And I was kind of living because that's my favorite anime ever. I feel like I would like to know if Chuck Tingle has watched Neon Genesis Evangelion. But putting that to the side for a second, the reason that I feel like this ending was so poignant is because I'm the kind of person that doesn't look for external meaning to be my motivator to get up every day. I'm the kind of person where I feel like I create my own purpose. And so this touched very much on something that is very important to me. Also, serious trigger warnings for like existentialism.
Oh yeah, no, it's a whole
bro.
No, it's very sad. It's very like, I think that it's kind of rough where like, especially like right after the big low probability event happens at first, you get thrown into this kind of really low point for Vera where she's just been living alone in her mother's house, just kind of coasting. Mm-hmm. Like in the most literal sense, she is just doing the bare minimum not to die. And frankly, she does not care if she dies. Mm-hmm. There's like many moments during the earlier part of the book where Agent Layne has to like tell her to like wear a fucking seatbelt. Do not do this thing that's going to kill you. If not for you, do it for me. Do not put yourself in more danger than you have to.
What's the name of the organization? LSPEC?
The LPEC, the Low Probability Event Committee or Commission or something like that.
Agent Layne is this investigator who shows up on Vera's doorstep and is like, hey, you are the head honcho in the world of statistics.
Like, she's an authority on probability. She like wrote the book and she's a professor. And like, if there's someone to go to about statistical anomalies and stuff, it's her.
He is trying to get her to help him solve a case because it seems like there is a casino that is able to harness improbability in order to make its customers win more than average. But even though customers at this casino are winning, the house is always winning more.
The patrons are given every advantage, mm-hmm. and yet the casinos are winning just a little bit too much statistically for comfort. Mm-hmm. And I remember there's this really great analogy that like Vera says in the book, which is like, if you and a friend decided to flip a coin like 1,000 times, statistically, no matter how much it fluctuates one way or the other, it should round out to about each of you getting the right answer 500 times. Mm-hmm. When you do it against this casino, they will win. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what statistics says, they will win. And like, there's something just so jarring about that concept. So like Vera was trying to kind of figure out this nonsense before all this happened, before the LPE happens. Mm-hmm. How like she had grievances. She was trying to learn more about this casino. They were saying in the beginning about how like she has like a bone to pick with this casino because something doesn't add up properly.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't know that some kind of reality warping anomaly is happening, but she knows that like something is fucked. Mm-hmm. Something is being fudged. I think the way she looks at it is she thinks that they're fudging the information, they're fudging the data, mm-hmm. because that's the only way that she can possibly rationalize it in the world that she was in before the low probability events. Mm-hmm. But now like that nothing means anything and everything is everything and everything is possible. It's like anything is possible. Mm-hmm.
Vera's depression for me felt so intimate. And I really appreciate the way that Chuck Tingle wrote that, because for her to do this complete 180 from a character that seems to just have their entire life together, has a fiance, is, is making a very important stand in their life about being very open and honest about who they are as a person, to then go experience something extremely traumatic and become essentially a hermit because their depression has caused them to become a hoarder and just all of these things that come along with a major depressive episode. I felt for her, and I really do appreciate the amount of time that Chuck Tingle gave us with Vera in that moment to kind of show us the gravity of where her mental state is, because that had a lot of influence on the decisions that she made throughout the story.
Vera basically tells her mom, what for, fuck off, I'm going to live my life. And then before she gets a chance to like get the catharsis that she needs, so desperately needs from the situation, her mom just fucking dies.
Dude, it was crazy.
Like, brutally just murdered by a fucking car. Like straight up. And it's crazy because like that's such a, it's kind of those things you imagine, or like you ever had that thing where like you imagine you had an argument with a friend or a family member and then you didn't talk to them again yet. And then you think, well, what if they die, or what if I die before I get to have that closure? That the worst thing that could happen happens. The unlikely event happens, that she never gets that closure, and she never really gets a chance to kind of make peace with it, even if she knew that she was in the rights.
And I don't blame Vera for reacting the way that she did with her fiance and completely just cutting things off, because that was an extremely traumatic event for so many people. And it essentially kind of just broke her brain as someone whose job it is to think about statistical probability, to see everything that you believe to be the way in which the world functions fall apart right in front of you. I don't even know. I don't know what I would say to anybody either.
It's kind of like you have to ask yourself, if you ever saw something that shook you to your core, everything that you understood foundationally about yourself and your world, how do you respond to that? Can you possibly continue to like just exist as you were? I don't think it's not easy. I can't imagine if I had like everything I believed in just snatched out of reality. I can't imagine I would take it well.
Ultimately, this is a 10 of 10 recommendation from me. This was my most anticipated book of the year, and it did not disappoint.
I'd give it like a solid 9.5, and that's only because I have a great love for Chuck Tingle's Bury Your Gaze, but it's a Chuck Tingle. It's great. It's going to be fun. You're going to have a great time.
We've been doing this fun thing for a while where we are doing joint reviews of horror books that we love. And I kind of like that we're doing this because like we're bouncing the conversation off of each other. Don't forget to become a subscriber and hit the notification bell if you want to get more content like this from us. I post videos whenever I feel like it. Thanks for watching.
Later.
Mr. Wonka worked the factory. In your wildest wild